Hello, everybody. This is Gary. Today is September 6th, 2021. It's 7:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States in Rochester, New York. And today I just wanted to talk about politics and mental illness. Um, I am not a veteran, but I wanted to talk about politics and how it affects veterans who have mental health problems like post traumatic stress disorder. The politicians of our country have totally abandoned and forgotten our veterans who have fought in places like Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places around the world. The suicide rate for veterans of Afghanistan and Iraq and other places is very high, and our politicians have totally abandoned them and left them to their own devices. The Veterans Affairs Department is a joke. It doesn't provide good mental health care, good physical care, or any good care of any kind for our veterans, certainly not in the areas of mental health. I recently saw a news report. I can't cite it because I don't remember exactly where I saw it. Could have been CNN, could have been ABC News, I don't know. But this year alone, and it's not even the end of the year yet, suicide hotlines across the nation have gotten 35,000 calls from veterans, particularly from Afghanistan and Iraq, who have been thinking about committing suicide. The vast majority of these people have post traumatic stress disorder or brain damage of some sort, and they're not getting the help they need. I know I talk a lot about on this channel about my own schizophrenia, my own symptoms, my hallucinations, my delusions, my paranoia. But in some ways, these veterans are suffering far more than I ever have or ever will. I've never been in combat. I've never been in a situation that would cause post traumatic stress disorder. Things that cause post traumatic stress disorder include things like war, obviously, and other traumatic events like rape or some sort of violent encounter. Um, I've never experienced anything like that. I don't claim to know what it's like to have PTSD. In some ways, PTSD, while not a psychotic disorder generally, can be much more damaging than schizophrenia. My own sister had mental illness. She was not a veteran. I did have a sister who served in the Army. This not the one I'm talking about. I have a very large family. There was 10 kids in my family, actually 11. I had a sister who died when she was an infant, but I only knew the other 9. My sister committed suicide with a double-barreled shotgun. She was severely mentally ill in a lot of ways. She did not have PTSD. She was not a veteran. She was never raped. Um, she did have a miscarriage. I suppose that might cause PTSD, but I don't think that's why my sister committed suicide. She left behind a living son, and her husband had died of cancer from chewing tobacco. Mental illness runs in my family. Whatever my sister went through, whatever I'm going through, I don't think it's as bad as what veterans are going through and will continue to go through as our government and our politicians ignore them. Right now, the Democratic Party is trying to pass a $3.5 trillion, what they call human infrastructure bill. And as far as I can tell from what I watch in the news, most of the mainstream media and alternative news sources on YouTube, there's nothing in that $3.5 trillion that helps veterans with mental health problems, brain damage, or even physical disabilities, like veterans who have had their limbs blown off in battle. $3.5 trillion, and it completely ignores veterans and spends money on wasteful pet projects that lobbyists are fighting for and individual congressmen and senators are fighting for that have nothing to do with helping our veterans. I have no solutions. I'm just one person. But I think our government is out of touch, especially with Joseph Biden as president. Joe Biden is a traitor. He's responsible for the death of 13 servicemen in Afghanistan from a suicide bombing caused by ISIS-K and allowed by the Taliban. He's responsible for the murder of those 13 people. He's responsible for causing more stress on veterans who have been in Afghanistan over the past 20 years, some who have died by the thousands, and tens of thousands who have been injured mentally and physically. Joseph Biden is no friend to veterans. He's a traitor and he should resign as president. He's completely incompetent. The Congress doesn't give a shit. The Senate doesn't give a shit. Nobody gives a shit. Republicans are no better than the Democrats. They offer nothing in terms of plans for helping the mental health issues of our veterans. The Democrats offer nothing. The president offers nothing. The Supreme Court offers nothing. The bureaucracy offers nothing. The Department of Veterans Affairs offers nothing. And the suicides continue among our veterans. The drug abuse and alcoholism continues with our veterans. Like I said, I have no solutions. I just had to say what was on my mind. I suppose we could try writing our congressmen, calling them, but they're too busy debating over a $3.5 trillion boondoggle spending bill that does nothing to help anyone who has mental health problems, especially our veterans. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for the things I have. I have a psychiatrist. Medicare and Medicaid pays for my psychiatric treatment. And that's the ironic thing. I'm not a veteran, and I get better mental health care than my veteran people in this country. There's something wrong with that. Why should a veteran get less mental health care than I do? It makes no sense. I was considered mentally disabled back in 1985. I was on Social Security or Supplemental Security income for years. And then when my father retired, they switched me to Social Security disability. And when my father died, they uh, changed me to Social Security survivors benefits, which meant an increase in the amount of the check that I was getting every month by about $500 a month extra. And I was qualified for Medicare based on disability. Because I was considered disabled before the age of 22, when my father retired and eventually passed away, and he was a veteran of World War II, I was switched to survivors benefits. My mother died when I was 8 from alcoholism, She obviously had mental health problems beyond just alcoholism. She had 11 kids and was probably a lot of stress on her body and mind, having 11 children and have one of them die. Luckily, in a way, she did not live to see my sister commit suicide in 1996 with a double barrel shotgun. My father was a veteran. He was pretty mentally stable. He drank, but not heavily. He would nurse his drinks. He would have like maybe one or two glasses of whiskey a day. He smoked cigarettes. And if I remember correctly, it was the cigarettes, not the alcohol, that killed them. I'm trying to quit smoking right now, myself. I have a nicotine lozenge in my mouth. I'm wearing a nicotine patch, paid for by Medicaid. Again, another example of how I get better treatment than veterans, and I'm not a veteran. There's something wrong with that. I don't want my care to go away. I'm not saying that. Don't mental health treatment facilities have the obligation to treat veterans at least as well as they treat me? My medications are all paid for, and I'm on like 7 or 8 or 9 different medications. Most mentally ill people don't get the treatment that I get. There's not enough psychiatrists. There's not enough psychiatric beds. There's not enough clinics. And the Department of Veterans Affairs really sucks at what they do. They're underfunded, understaffed, and they just don't give a shit. And when I finally did start to see psychiatrists, that was after months of waiting. If I stopped my psychiatric treatment for any stupid reason and went off my meds, it would take me months to get back in touch with a psychiatrist. I learned that the hard way. Even if you're not a veteran, if you stop psychiatric care, it's nearly impossible to get back into it. There's not enough psychiatrists to go around. There's not enough community health centers to go around. There's not enough therapists to go around, veterans and non-veterans alike. The mental health system in this country really sucks. It especially sucks for veterans, but it generally sucks for everybody, evident in the fact of how many homeless mentally ill people there are. And I wonder how many of those homeless mentally ill people are veterans. There are homeless mentally ill people who come up to me and say, "Can you let me borrow $1? I'm a veteran." And a lot of the mentally ill people who are homeless who claim to be veterans are not veterans. That's called stolen valor. They're pretending to be something they're not. But there are plenty of veterans who are homeless, who are mentally ill, who do have PTSD or other disorders, and may even be physically disabled and homeless. It's hard to tell sometimes who's telling the truth and who isn't. But even if they are veterans and homeless, they shouldn't have to be begging for $1 from anybody. They should be in an apartment somewhere like I am, being taken care of like I am. Well, I mean, I don't have nurses coming to my apartment. Nobody's taking care of me in the most literal sense. I pay my own bills with the Social Security I have. I can pay my own rent, handle my own money, pay my cell phone bill, pay my internet bill, pay my electric bill, pay my water bill, pay my gas bill. Manage my own medications. But not everybody can do that. I guess all I wanted to say was our veterans and the mentally ill people have been cast aside by the government and by society at large. We're all guilty of that, and we should all feel ashamed of it.